Could you show us an example of using try catch in a front end API request?
Sure. Formulating. So the problem is we can easily make the API throw a 500 error or return a 500 error, or even a 400 error, which is like heads up, the API call didn't work, but that still won't throw an error. Oh, I know how we can do a try catch. Yep. Hold on. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So when you send back a response that says like error colon, this didn't work, that doesn't throw an error?
Correct. That is just some data that says error true, but that won't actually throw an error. So I'll show you both ways of doing it. So here in our app.js, we get messages from API, but I don't have my backend server running right now. So if I fire up just my front end, oh, you know what? Hold on. This isn't the right folder. So let's do. Okay, so I did a run start, and if I pull this up, I get error connection refused, right? So my backend isn't running. So in my get posts, I could wrap this whole thing in a try and come down here and then say catch the error and alert. So when we come over here, it immediately errors out. As soon as you refresh the page, it has the connection refused error and will throw an alert that is being caught right here. So we try and do this fetch because 3001 isn't even running. It threw an error that we caught right here and did this code instead. Now that is different than if we have the back end running and have an error. So let me show you that as well. So if I open up my blog backend and I say, hey, when we go get the posts, instead of finding all the posts, let's res.send back a status of 500 and a send error true. So now if we go back to our front end and refresh, oh, and have both of our servers running. I must have closed out of the front end. Oh, it's a new window. That's the problem. Backend PM1 start. Okay, now we've got our front end and back end running. And oh, it did error out on a 500. But let's see what's happening here. Save. Let's make this a console log instead. Okay, so it didn't hit this catch because it 500'd here. So because the backend is just sending a status code back, it isn't actually hitting our catch down here. So we would have to do an additional check and say, I think it's response.status. That can do it for me. Yeah, response.status gives me the 500. So what we would do is we would say if the response.status equals 500, alert, something went wrong in the server, else go ahead and parse the data and set the posts and do all of that stuff. So if we save that, now we get something went wrong in the server, but we don't get a bunch of other errors about trying to read properties of undefined on the map, because this is getting triggered from the set posts here. So here, let me refresh this. So now we get something went wrong in the server and no other errors, because the other errors were coming from here, where it was trying to get the posts out of the data. And it was like, well, there aren't any posts in the data because something went wrong and it 500 it. So this is an example of if something goes wrong and it's actually throwing an error, we can catch it. If something's going wrong on the server and the server is returning back the 500 like we're doing here, we can use the response.status, that 500 code, to say, hey, something went wrong, go check the server. But if nothing went wrong, then parse out the JSON and set the data in.
And where you made the send error true?
We
What-
didn't even end up using this.
Okay, but
But if you wanted to, let's remove the status. The other way we could do it is we could say, if the data contains an error, alert, server was 200, but has error in the data. So now you are getting back 3 different ways we can do the error. If the error is actually throwing something on the front end, we can do a try catch. If the error is happening in the back end and marking the response as a 500, we can check for it here. Or if the error is in the data itself, we can check to see if the data has an error in it. And so in this situation, now we're using the error true because we're not sending back the status of a 500.
okay, thank you.
And there are pros and cons to each one of them. It is more common to see the status code being set and the or there being an error in the data of the JSON. That is more common than seeing the error getting caught on the front end. Because normally the front end is like, I just did an API call and I got something back. So as long as I got something back, there isn't actually an error. That's what the front end considers an error. What the server considers an error is going to be this response status code. If I tried something, it didn't work, so we're sending back a 500. And then this level of an error would be like, hey, you know, the developers who made the API were thinking of that already. And so, you know, they're sending you back some error details or just letting you know that there was an error on their side. So I have seen all 3 of these in an actual API, but response.status and data.error would be your 2 most common ones.
Okay, so rather than try catch,
Correct. Because the front end is like any response that I get back is considered a success for me. That's why you won't catch too often in the front end alone. Because if any data comes back, the front end considers that a success. The other thing that you could do, and this is, you could throw your own error here and say server 500. And that would, if we put this back. And change this for Oh, shit. Oh yeah, something went wrong with the server. So if you really wanted to, you could actually throw your own error here and then catch it down here.
All right. Could you copy paste that into
Sure.
something?
Other questions?
I have one.
Go for it.
Can I share my screen?
Yep.
I think I know what it is, but I don't know if I know what it is. So I created a front and back end, and I tried to add my previous HTML to this.
Okay, I think it's gonna be a problem. Try deleting your no, here's your problem. You've got an opening div right here, and then you've got a closing div right here, but React can only return one div.
Oh, so I have to take that out and then only have this last one.
Well, you can put everything in one big div. So if you come up here, right there, yep, after your return, put another div in there. So right here, put a div.
Right here?
Yep,
What,
an opening div.
but that is the opening, I thought.
Well, no, what I'm saying is you want to put everything in a div. So this is one div that starts here and ends here. This is another div that starts here and ends somewhere else.
Right.
What I'm saying is you want everything in one giant div. So you're going to put
delete this one?
no,
So put a div, how am
put
I?
a div there.
So, div, wait, why is it not typing? Div,
And then close that tag. And then take the closing tag, that closing slash div, and put it all the way at the bottom. So scroll all the way down. And put it before the semicolon.
hit enter.
Sure. Now save. Okay, now you've got a different error if you go all the way up to the top.
I think it's this.
Yep, so you can't use HTML comments in JSX, so go ahead and take that out. And now you're good to go. So if you save, it did your prettier for you. And now your only other problem is you're using a style somewhere. And style tags, it's on that image. Well, it's on a lot of images there. That style tag in React needs to use an object instead of a string.
Okay, so I need to take all the styles off.
Well, here, let me show you a trick. If I can remote control.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to find any place where you say style equals width, colon 100%. And we're going to replace it with style equals an object that has a width of 100%. And so now this is the React way of doing it. So if we save that, now you've got Christie's favorite things going on.
Okay. So, but do I have to? The object doesn't need to be somewhere. You know how like with the style, you would style it on like CSS, that this doesn't have to be somewhere else?
No, just like it didn't have to be somewhere else in your HTML. That's an inline style.
Oh, okay. So in JX, you style with an object.
Yes, instead of a string. And then any place that you use class now, you need to use class name instead.
Oh, okay, so tell me again, how do we do that?
Command F, click into your code. Command F,
Okay,
you're gonna say anytime it says class equals. So just type in class equals. And then hit the little arrow there. The arrow point, yep, you got it. And then take out that style equal and say class name with a capital N equal. And replace all over here.
this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. So save the file and go back to your browser and refresh. Good to go.
Oh my God, oh my God, I did it, oh my God.
Now you just have to get your images working.
Oh, that's a whole nother thing. So let me see. What was my other question? I'm surprised I was able to do this. This is. I mean, I care about the images, but so image source is the right image.
Yeah, it doesn't look like you have that JPEG in your code though.
Oh, all the pit. Oh, yes. Okay.
So I'm gonna let you figure that out on your own.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next up.
Now the way React does images is a little different than the way regular JavaScript or regular HTML does images. So you may want to just do a Google search for like images in React and see what their advice is.
Okay. Okay.
That was the one downside to taking that week off, was that there was supposed to be another week of React where I would have gone into like images and converting HTML to React projects and stuff like that. But we'll make up for the time. It's not like, it's the end of the world that we didn't cover that. Hey, I got my keyboard back. Sorry. Very excited. I have to share because it just is slightly melted on the bottom.
Oh my God.
And somehow, let's see, somehow still sits flat. I can't believe, wow.
So did you have to turn the warmer on for a little bit till it warmed back up?
I'm not going to attempt to remelt the plastic. Kind of tempted to see if the mug warmer still works, but it's probably.
Yeah, how did you get it? How did you get the keyboard off the?
Oh, I did let it cool. Christy was right. I wasn't gonna leave it plugged in and inhale the fumes for all office hours, so unplugging it was the right way to go. Anyway, any other questions I can answer for you guys?
I'm so exhausted. I don't even can't formulate questions. A lot going on.
Not a problem. We can wrap it up a little early. Unless Doug or Christy have any questions. Zach, I can stay on with you. Unless you've won publicly.
I do. What happens if you don't open front end and back end in separate windows and then try to run integrated terminal?
You can actually have multiple integrated terminals running. So let me go back to sharing my screen. Let me open that just so we can see. It is totally possible. I have nothing against this approach. I think it's actually easier to keep them as two separate windows. How I like to work is two separate windows. However, I know a lot of developers who like it all in one window. That's fine. There's nothing against this approach. But if you open day 4, it's going to open both of them here. And then if you go front end package.json, open an integrated terminal, you can do your npm run start here. And that will fire up React. And then in the back end, if you right click on the package.json in there and open that in an integrated terminal, you see the 2 tabs over here. this is how you would switch back and forth. So you can do your npm run start here, and that's going to start the back end. And if we come over here and refresh, this would theoretically be working. I've been screwing with the code a little bit, but then you can just switch between your two terminals. This would be your front end and this would be your back end. And if you pull this out a little bit more, you can even see it's labeled by the folder name. But personal preference, you can totally intermix it as long as you are, when you have this open and you're like, okay, this is my server, obviously, because it's called server.js, but sometimes it's easy to get lost and be like, oh, I'm in my post.js. Well, is that the React component called post, or is that the model called post in the database? So as long as you keep them separate, it should be fine to keep them both open. And I'm not sure, I know my text editor does this, yeah, but if you have two files open called post, it will show you this is in the source folder and this is in the database folder. So it will differentiate between the two of them if you have both of the same file open.
Okay, yeah, I was just asking because when I was trying to convert my HTML to React, I was trying to move files around and stuff, and I ended up with, I had two separate windows, but one window had like front end and back end. I didn't run into any problems, but I was just curious if the integrated terminal opened in like a specific file or if it opens for like that folder.
It opens, so the way you can tell that is when you're, let me just close out of both of them. It's going to open in the folder of the file that you right clicked on. So if I open an integrated terminal on package.json and then run a PWD, you're going to see it put me in blog front end, which is the folder this package.json is in. So all integrated terminal is doing is literally opening a new terminal and then CDing down into whatever this parent's folder is. Whatever the, yeah, whatever folder that child is in would be the parent, and that's where it's going to CD me down into. But yeah, there's absolutely nothing against having it all in one window. And if that makes more sense for your brain, go for it. I've got nothing against that.
Cool, thanks.
Question.
Yep.
Am I supposed to treat these images like an object the same way we did with the style?
You can. I would encourage that. Yes, you should have your .jpeg file in your source folder. You should import it at the top of the file like we do CSS. And then you can use that image as an object in the source tag instead of a string.
Wait, you said I should import it? I brought it over, but I just don't drag and drop it.
So it needs to be in your source folder, your SRC folder.
Right.
The JPEG needs to be in there. Then you need to import it at the top of the file.
Oh.
And then once you import it, you can use it as an object in the SRC tag. I will leave that up to you. I can either show you how to do that on your code, or I will let you give it a try if you prefer.
Wait, I'll let you keep talking and then I'll see if I'm doing it right, you know.
Okay. We have other questions.
I have another question, but it might be really specific to my project.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay.
I can always say no.
Yes, if the answer gets too long, you can, or someone else has a question in the meantime, I'm happy to pass it off. So here is the front end. I mean, it's the development part of the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm sorry, no, this is, yep, this is still the front end. So I made myself a button where, because I have all my data just stored in dummy objects. So like the grid for my map is just an array of all these tile objects. So I made a button that will, oh, wrong index. I made a button that'll get the current grid, go through item in the arrays and call add to database for each item. And add to database is here. And then to show you the back end. There's my post tile function.
Okay, I'm not seeing anything obviously jump out at me.
So, oh, and I should also show you Beekeeper. So
Yep.
I've gone through and cleared out tiles, so there's nothing in it right now.
Okay,
So then I go through, and you can see this.
yep,
So if I hit the add all, I want to hide the console because that,
proprietary information going on in there.
no, just that it runs a comment for every single loop. And
Gotcha.
so
Gotcha.
so I click my add all tiles to API.
Yep,
And it takes a second. There we go. It's going and going and going. You can see over here. How do I know when it's done?
it looks like to me that it is.
Okay, so then if I go in here and I'm on my tiles, and I got lots and lots of tiles.
Okay,
If I go all the way to the end of the tiles list, which is here, it says it's column 45. Oh. So, oh, could the calls be,
happening
One-
asynchronously.
yeah, could a later one go through before an earlier one?
Very easy way to fix that. Well, maybe. Let me request remote control. So two things we can do there. One
So-
is,
So the question is two-part. That's one part, but here it shows, is this the size of the table, 433?
no, my guess is, oh, yeah, I guess it is, yes.
So there's a lot more than 433 tiles. I think it's, if I, oh, well, look at this. So also,
Okay, so we've, okay. No.
where to,
We've got a couple things here. But we can start cleaning this up. So one thing's, okay, you actually already do the await on the tile. So, yeah, there's a lot going on here. Ideally, can you switch me to your front end?
yes, I think I can.
Instead of,
Oh, and I just had added in the, I might have the syntax wrong for the then and catch. That was an experiment I was doing right before office hours to try to.
okay, so here's the office hours friendly answer that I will let you take off with, and then if you want to schedule a one-on-one, we can totally do that. But instead of making 400 API calls to create all the tiles, ideally what you would do is make one API call to create the tiles with all of the tile information in the body. So you would have the entire tiles array get passed in the body, and then in your back end, you would loop over them instead of looping over all of them in the front end. That's part one. Part two is the database doesn't like to execute that number of queries back to back. Instead, it would rather do it in bulk. And even though it would be one massive mega huge query, it would rather run one query inserting 4,000 tiles than run 4,000 queries inserting one tile. So the way that we do that in Sequelize is the insert many command, which is with bulk create, my bad. So you can use this bulk create method, and instead of passing in an object of what you want to create, you pass in an array of objects and it creates them all in one mega big query.
Okay, thank you very much. That gives me a lot of good places to start working on it.
Yep. And that's why you're getting that insufficient resources. Is the database is like, I can't create that many things back to back. Give me one list of things to create and I will create all of them. But if you try and create that all at once, if you try and create them back to back to back to back, that's when the API is like, whoa, man, I can't keep track of the 4,000 API calls you just made. But if I am just keeping track of one API call, even if it has a huge, massive array of data, and then I am dealing with that in one mega big SQL insert, that will work better than 4,000 API calls and 4,000 inserts into the database. Now,
Okay.
4,000 may be excessive. It may not be that many, but give you an idea.
Yeah, I suspected that might be too many API calls to be making in a loop, but
Yep.
I didn't know the solution. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
No problem. Christy, how are you making out? You get your images working?
I did not, but can I show you?
Yeah, go for it.
Is this I think it's something simple in that when you see it, so since we last spoke.
Okay, so you're really close. You just
Right.
need to give that a name so that you can use it later. So give me remote access.
Okay, so because I didn't have the dot and the slash, and it was given. I was reading all the stuff that they Oh, see, I thought that, but I wasn't sure. So, oh, okay. So now I do what we said before, Command F, and where it's source equals Myrtle. Sunny dot JPEG. This I will. Is that right? Yeah. So then I'll hit this, and I'll change it to SRC equals curly braces. Replace.
Save the file.
Huh?
Save the file.
Oh, Command F.
And now you're good to go. So the only thing that I think you might be missing is your styles for row and column. Did you copy that CSS over?
No, I have not imported the CSS yet.
So if you copy that CSS and paste it into the app.css, I think you will have successfully recreated everything over in React.
Oh, everything that I have in my CSS, I just copy it over here.
Yep, CSS doesn't change in React. So you can
Oh,
actually
you know
delete
what?
all of that stuff.
I could delete all of it.
Yep, anything in app.css, that's just kind of a starting point.
You know, I was about to take a whole class on Code Academy, CSS and JS. I'm glad you told me that because I was gonna sit through a class.
You're gonna sit
me
through the whole class and then go, I didn't learn anything from this.
Okay, so let me see. I'm take all of this. So what about my stuff that's objects? That's not gonna make a
No,
diff?
because it's CSS. Your CSS doesn't change in React at all.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Okay. I'm ready for tomorrow. I'll go first. Oh
We
my
like that
God.
confidence.
Yeah, so I don't know why this last row is not doing what it's supposed to do, but I'll delete it. But yeah. You don't act right, you just get deleted. And yeah, maybe I'll change all these pictures to, well, you know what? If I want to add more JPEGs, I have to do the same thing.
Yep.
Okay.
But you should be thinking in context of what gets me to full stack, right? Because that's the next big thing of what data do I need in the database? What endpoints do I need to create? What models do I need to set up? And we're going to get more practice with that in the blog next week. But right now, you know, coming into crunch time, now is a matter of, okay, how do I make this feel or have full stack code?
So you didn't hear my brag at the beginning?
No, sorry, my computer was being temperamental.
So I have a front end and a back end. The only thing that I haven't done to my back end is put SQLize in it.
Okay.
So I have, let me show you.
So now you need to start thinking about how do I do a fetch in my React code to get some data from the back end to show up in my front end.
So see right here, I got a back end and a front end.
Yep.
That I created. I just didn't SQLize, and I knew that I wanted to move the HTML, but I thought I knew how, but I knew
You
how.
do now.
Right. So yeah, I have so what I was saying this before while you were detaching things. So because I said that my favorite things, or even if it's the bike routes or whatever, it's still gonna come across like a blog.
Okay.
I don't need authentication. So
but what you want to do is start setting up your models with SQLize to have a thing called, you know, favorites in the database. And then you want to start thinking about, well, what does each favorite store, right? The name of the favorite, maybe some description about why it's your favorite, maybe a link of where you can go buy it. But all of that stuff is going to have to go into the database so that you can set it up on your front end to show that.
Right. So yes, I knew. Remember we talked about that, and I have a list of the favorite things. So, and I didn't want to I wanted to kind of think. I didn't think about using the word favorite. I was going to use a different word, but yeah, I had already thought about like creating something in the creating a database and all of that. So I will work on that part, and then yeah. So yeah, that's because I did a HTML project in Code Academy, and one of them was creating a blog, and so yeah, I'm gonna have another question, not right now, but about embedding stuff.
Mhm.
Is that very similar to what I just did? Or like videos, GIFs, stuff like that? Or
It depends how much you want to integrate it with your backend.
Right.
But yeah, we can do that. That's not the end of the world to do.
Oh, okay. And not too much, but just, maybe more so videos than anything else, maybe not, GIFs or anything. Okay, I'm good with this. I'm happy.
Nice. Good work.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other questions I can answer for you guys before Larry falls asleep on us?
Larry has got a lot of things going on, and then tomorrow they gotta learn new stuff.
Yeah, but the next 2 weeks is gonna kind of like Tuesday through Thursday will be remote. Still just working on company specific stuff. I'm just drained overall.
I don't blame you. Finally have a break in the weather, so now we get like a nice rainy Sunday to unwind and, start our weekend off anew. Or our week off, I mean. Maybe I need a nap too. All right, last call for
We got
questions.
questions. I'm gonna head out. Take care, everybody.
See you guys.
Good night.
I'm
Night.
all set. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. Bye-bye.
See you guys. I'm gonna stop.